inwards. Okay, that means like this. Inwards, the course is 3IFM. Look here. First course of the parotid duct is inward. Then it moves forward. And the third course it is medially. Okay. So, first length of the parotid duct it is 90 degree and it pierces three structures. What are those structures? First it pierces the buccal pad of fat. Buccal pad of fat. Okay, buccal pad of fat. Then immediate structure is a fossa lying over here. Okay, the another structure here it is a fossa. Which fossa it is? Buccopharyngeal fossa. Fossa it is the buccopharyngeal fossa. Buccopharyngeal fossa. The first it was buccal pad of fat. Buccal pad of fat. And third it is a muscle again. Third there is a muscle here. Which muscle you suppose it will pierce here? It is the buccinator muscle. The third muscle, it is the buccinator muscle. Okay? The three structures which are pierced by the first bend, that is of 90 degree inwards, that is the buccal pad of fat, then the buccopharyngeal fossa, then the buccinator muscles. Then it moves forwards. What it do? It moves forwards. After piercing these three structures, then it moves forwards. Okay. Forward means in between the buccinator muscles here. And what is this? A buccal mucosa. What is this? Buccal mucosa. Okay. This one. And here it is the crown of the upper second molar tooth. Just see. So, the length of the parotid duct you see is 5 cm. In this 5 cm, 1 cm it runs forward here in between the buccinator muscle and this buccal mucosa. Again it turns upwards. That is medially. Now the course is medially and opens in the vestibule of the oral cavity, vestibule of the mouth you can say. Where? At which side it opens? It opens at the crown of the second molar. Okay? So, this was very important. What are the structure which are pierced by the parotid duct in its course, starting from the parotid gland up to its opening. Okay? Now, another aspect, the surface marking in the examination, you are asked how you will surface mark the parotid duct. So, just see. Look here. When you are asked surface marking, it is a line which joins the lower border of the tragus here. Suppose a tragus, lower border of tragus and a point here. This is the ala of the nose and the upper red margin of the lip. This is the midpoint of that, and the line which joins these two points, lower border of the tragus and a big point here, the middle third of that, it is the situation of the parotid duct. That was very important. Okay, so it was a very important part which was left in the previous class. So today in this class we are going to discuss a very important topic, that is the TM joint. Okay, TM joint. What do you mean by TM joint? That is the temporomandibular joint. A very important topic for long question here. Temporomandibular joint. So, this temporomandibular joint, which type of joint it is? It is a type synovial joint. Which type of joint it is? Synovial joint. Of which variety? Condylar variety. Synovial joint of the condylar variety. So, this is the temporomandibular joint. You can feel here when you will move your lower ये mandible, when you will move, you can feel here the movement of the joint here. Temporomandibular during mastication or chewing, you can feel it. So it is a bilateral joint. First of all, you see it is a bilateral joint. It was made up of single mandible, and this is known as the head of the mandible, and this head of the mandible, it articulates where? With the cranium. Here you see there is the mandibular fossa. Look here, this is the mandibular fossa. It has got the articular part and the posteriorly non-articular part. So anteriorly, that is the articular part of the mandibular fossa. It articulates with the head of the mandible and forms the temporomandibular joint. This temporomandibular joint, it is the bilateral representation. Mind it, it is a bilateral representation of a single joint. That is the craniomandibular joint. That is very important. You can't move a single joint. Whenever you have to move, the both joints are moving simultaneously. So that's why it is a bilateral representation of the craniomandibular joint. Now come which type of joint it is. This is a synovial joint of the condylar variety, and you know the synovial joint, the parts, bony components are lined by the hyaline cartilage, but here it is lined by instead of being lined by the hyaline cartilage, here it is lined by the fibrocartilage. A very important point, fibrocartilage. Okay. The bony part here, it is the upper end of this condylar part, or you can say the head of the mandible. It is lined by the fibrocartilage here. Okay, and that's why it is known as the atypical synovial joint. Atypical synovial joint it is. So this is the introduction of the temporomandibular joint, forms between the skull and the mandible. It is two in number, but the same joint, it is a single joint, bilateral representation of the atypical synovial in nature. Now what are the surfaces, how it is formed, what are the articular parts of both these bony areas? Upper, above, what would be the articular surfaces? Articular surface above. Articular surface, what are those? Articular eminence, that at the name suggests articular eminence. Okay, squamotympanic fissure, and the articular part of the mandibular fossa, or the mandibular fossa, anterior part. So these are the parts which are contributed above by the cranium. Look here, what are these articular eminence, the squamotympanic fissure, and this the mandibular fossa, anterior component of that. Look here, this is the root of the zygoma. When we will discuss the temporal bone, you have taught by your batch teachers about the temporal bone. This is the what it is. It is the zygomatic process here. Here it is the root of the zygoma. Here it is the articular eminence here. Here it is the squamotympanic fissure. Squamotympanic fissure, it is present in between the which part? The articular and the non-articular part of the mandibular fossa, squamous. That is, this temporal bone has got so many components. One of them it is the squamous part, another it is the tympanic part. So tympanic part where the parotid gland lies here, posteriorly, and this is the squamous part. So a vertical fissure is here where there is the attachment of this bony attachment of this joint, and another is the mandibular fossa, anterior one. Lower part of this joint, lower part, it is formed by the lower part, the bony point, it is contributed by knot. This is the coronoid process and this is the condylar process, or also known as the head of the mandible. You better remember the head of the mandible. So head of the mandible, it forms the lower part of this joint. So altogether the upper part, the lower part forms a temporomandibular joint like this. Now this joint, it is very important, a very peculiar character you will see here. Any idea? What is present here? Any idea?
Articular disc.
Intra-articular disc. Very good. Intra-articular disc is there. Okay. So suppose this is the head of the mandible. Okay. Suppose it's not. This is the head of the mandible here, and here it is the above articular area which is provided by this cranium. What is that? Here it is the articular eminence. Articular eminence is here. Here is the mandibular fossa, forms part of there, and here it is the tympanic plate. Look here. Here is the tympanic plate posteriorly. This is the anterior aspect, and this is the posterior aspect. Isn't it? So squamotympanic fissure. This is was the whole about the squamous part of the, and here it is the tympanic part of the temporal bone. And this is a fissure which is known as the squamotympanic fissure. And this is the head of the mandible. This is the head of which bone? Head of the mandible here. So now this joint, it has got 4 ligaments. Like any other joints we will discuss, you have to discuss about the ligaments. Isn't it? Whether it is the shoulder joint, whether it is the knee joint, whether it is the hip joint. Here also, in the temporomandibular joint, we have to discuss whenever you are asked in the long question this, so you have to mention about the ligaments. First, the joint cavity. Above it is formed by this, what we have discussed, and here is the tympanic bone, here it is the mandible. Here it is the joint cavity. Okay. This head of the mandible, here what we have discussed, it is lined by which cartilage? Instead of being lined by the hyaline cartilage, it is lined by the fibrocartilage. Okay. Now, whole of this joint cavity, it is closed. Inside a sac-like structure, which is the capsule here, and that capsule it is known as the fibrous capsule. One of the important ligament of this, it is the fibrous capsule. The first ligament of this joint, it is the fibrous capsule. Okay, where you will get this fibrous capsule? It is lying above to the squamotympanic fissure. Here it is the articular eminence. Okay, and lower end of that, it is attached to the posterior part of the neck of the mandible. Just below the head, this is the neck of the mandible, and the posterior. That means whole of the surroundings or the joint cavity itself, it is enclosed in by the fibrous sac-like structure which is provided by a ligament which is known as the fibrous capsule. Okay, this is the fibrous capsule. Now, the second part, the second most important part here it is the neck of the mandible. This part where you will see the pterygoid pit or fovea. Look here, just below the head. Here it is the constricted part, neck. Anterior aspect of that, there is the attachment of which muscle here? Anyone? There is a muscle which is attached. Tell me which muscle it is? Which muscle it is?
Lateral pterygoid.
Yes, lateral pterygoid. Lateral pterygoid muscle, it is very important. This is the lateral pterygoid muscle which is attached to the anterior aspect of the pit, or you can pterygoid pit. The name here it is pterygoid pit or fovea, for the insertion or the origin of one of the muscles of mastication, that is the lateral pterygoid muscle. Okay. So what happens again? This above it is enclosed by this fibrous capsule. Again here it is the fibrous capsule. This structure here, it is the fibrous capsule. Now, a very important structure you will see here, that is the intra-articular disc. What you will see? Intra-articular disc. So, what is the pattern of this intra-articular disc? Look here. Again, an intra-oval shaped plate of the fibrocartilage, oval disc shaped pattern of the intra-articular disc. What is that? Intra-articular disc. What I have made here? There is a inside the joint cavity, whole of this area. Suppose in which above and below, whatever is the articular surfaces inside the joint cavity, there is the presence of a oval plate structure, oval plate shaped structure which is made up of fibrocartilage. And the shape of the cartilage, this plate, it is congruent with both the articular surfaces, above as well as the below. Above it is, look here, it is concavo-convex. What you have said? It is concavo-convex anterior to posterior, which is provided by the articular surface. And this is concavo-convex. Just this is the concavo-convex before the intra-articular disc. That means the shape of this intra-articular disc, it is congruent both above and below. Here there is convexity to enclose the concavity below to fit the head of the mandible here. The convex part of the head of the mandible would fit here. That's why the convexity of the fibrocartilage plate, here it is concave. And here again it is convex. Okay. So, this intra-articular disc has got some components here. It is a plate-like structure, circumference, and the circumference of this, which is known as the annulus, it will be attached to this fibrous capsule of this joint cavity. Okay, it will be attached to the all over lining of this fibrous capsule, this over page, which is the fibrocartilage, isn't it? Now, at the periphery, it is thickened. At the periphery, this fibrocartilage plate, it is thickened, and in the center, it is thin and also avascular. In the center of this plate is thin as well as avascular, as well as at the periphery, it is thickened. And it has got some components. It is divided into 5 regions, anterior to posterior. A very important point of this intra-articular disc here, it is divided into, here it is the first part, then here it is the second part, here it is the third part, again here it is the fourth part, like this. Look here. And here it is the fifth part. Anterior to posterior disc, intra-articular disc, it is divided into 5 components, 5 zones you can say. These 5 zones are what? Anterior, first one, what it is? First is anterior extension. What is anterior extension? This one, which is this anterior extension of this fibrocartilage, it is merging with the muscle here. Which muscle here? That is the lateral pterygoid. This anterior extension of the fibrocartilage plate, it merges with the muscle, that is the lateral pterygoid muscle here. Can you think about that? What does actually this intra-articular disc represent here inside the joint cavity? Actually, it is nothing. There are so many remnants of the muscles. You will read in the body there. So, one of the remnant is this intra-articular disc, which actually represent the insertion pattern of the lateral pterygoid. It is nothing but the remnant, supposed to be the remnant of the lateral pterygoid muscle inside the joint cavity. Okay, so lateral pterygoid and the expansion of that, it is like that intra-articular disc inside the joint cavity. So concentrate here. So here it is the anteriorly, the first zone of this intra-articular disc, it is the anterior extension. Second one is what it is? Anterior thick band. There are 2 thick zones here, anterior and the posterior. Second one here it is the anterior thick band. Anterior thick band. Here the fourth one, again this thick zone, it is the posterior thick band. Fourth, it is the posterior thick band. The region, the part in between the anterior thick band and the posterior thick band, it is known as the intermediate zone. What you will say? Intermediate zone. Okay. And the lastly, this is the bilaminar region. Can you see at the splitting of this intra-articular disc here into two laminas? This is the upper lamina. This is the upper lamina here, and here it is the lower lamina, like this. This upper lamina of this intra-articular disc, which is the posterior most zone, that is the bilaminar region. Bilaminar region. Why it is known as bilaminar region? This upper lamina of the intra-articular disc, it is formed by what? It is formed by the elastic tissue, fibroelastic tissue, and the posterior border, it is non-elastic. Okay? It is not non-elastic.
हाँ जो भी है.
Okay, so non-elastic upper lamina, it is elastic, fibroelastic. So what you will see here, it is the squamous part, here it is the tympanic part, tympanic plate of this temporal bone, and the fissuring which is vertically present here. So upper lamina, it is merged with the squamotympanic fissure, and the lower lamina, it merged, it is attached to the, this is the head of the mandible, this is the anterior, just opposite here, it is the posterior part of that, where the posterior lamina of the intra-articular disc is attached. So you see, anteriorly there is the insertion of what? Pterygoid pit, as the name suggests, pterygoid. For which muscle? Pterygoid. Lateral pterygoid, insertion of that, and just opposite here, through this pattern, the intra-articular disc, which is made up of fibrocartilage, it is attached. So it is nothing but it is the remnant of this muscle here, which is representing inside the joint cavity. And due to the presence of this intra-articular disc or the plate, the joint cavity, it is divided above and below. Isn't it? Now this gap, the gap between the upper and the lower lamina, there is a presence of the venous plexus here. What you will see? Venous plexus, it is present in between the upper and the lower lamina of this intra-articular disc. So you have, whenever you are asked this temporomandibular joint for the long question, you should write first of all what it is, how it is representing, what are the articular surfaces above and below, and the peculiarity of this joint, which is different from other joints. The presence of the intra-articular disc, so you have to make a diagram, each and three diagram, label diagram here, and you have to mention the intra-articular disc. Okay, now come to the ligament. First, due to the presence of this joint, you see the joint cavity itself, it is divided into the supradiscal, this is the disc, supradiscal compartment and the infradiscal compartment. Supradiscal and this is the infradiscal. That means infradiscal in which sense? Due to the presence of intra-articular disc. Or you can say menisco-temporal or menisco-mandibular compartment. You can also say it menisco-temporal, because whole of that above surface articular area is provided by the temporal bone, and here it is the mandible. So menisco-temporal compartment and the menisco-mandibular compartment. Okay, so now you first discuss this was the intra-articular disc here. Okay, So now come to the ligaments of the temporomandibular joint. I have written here four ligaments of the temporomandibular joint. Whenever you read about the ligament of any organ, just suppose uterus, or you can say the spleen, there are true ligament, there are accessory ligament. So just like that, here also there are two sets of ligament. Two sets of ligaments are there. Don't forget it, two sets of ligaments. One, it is true ligament, two set, two in number, true ligament and false ligament, or you can say the accessory ligament. You can say the accessory ligament. Accessory ligaments. So there are four ligaments of the temporomandibular joint. So true ligament, it is 2 in number, accessory ligament is 2 in number. Okay. Now what are the names of these true ligaments? We have discussed here. Fibrous capsule, or the capsular ligament. That means the fibrous sac which is enclosing whole of this inside it, that is the fibrous capsule. This one, fibrous ligament. Now the second true ligament, this is the true ligament. Fibrous capsule, it is the true ligament. True ligaments. Second one, it is the lateral ligament. Lateral ligament. What it is? Lateral ligament of TN joint. Have you heard the name of lateral ligament of the temporomandibular joint? Yes. What it is? Lateral ligament of the temporomandibular joint. I am rubbing this intra-articular disc here. Look. This is the head of the mandible. Here it is the articular eminence. Here it is the articular eminence, or the root of the zygoma to the lateral. This is the head, this is the neck of the mandible. Look here, from the lateral aspect, this one. This is the head, this is the neck of the mandible. So this is the lateral aspect of the neck. So what happens? Part of this fibrous capsule which is enclosing whole of that, lateral part of that which extends from the articular tubercle to the lateral aspect of the neck, it becomes thickened. And the direction of the fibers, look here. This is the intra-articular tubercle here, and the direction of the fiber, it is like this. Starting from the articular tubercle, and the direction is this posteriorly to the lateral aspect of the neck like this. So this is known as the lateral ligament. It is nothing but the thickened component of this capsular ligament itself, which is thickened laterally extending from the articular tubercle to the lateral aspect of the neck. Okay. So it becomes thickened. A very important point you can say for the TN joint, this lateral ligament. I am emphasizing this nomenclature because it protects the dislocation. It prevents the temporomandibular joint to dislocate laterally. This ligament, that is the lateral ligament of the TN joint, it will prevent the dislocation of the temporomandibular joint by this, which is present on the lateral aspect. Okay. Now, the third one, the third ligament is, which is known as the accessory ligament. Accessory ligaments. Anyone? Accessory ligament. What are those accessory ligaments? The two important ligaments, whenever you are asked in the examination, what are the ligaments over the mandible, you have to tell about the ligaments of the mandible which are attached. You have the name of the stylomandibular ligament, stylomandibular ligament, and the sphenomandibular ligament, isn't it? Sphenomandibular ligament. So these two S ligaments, stylomandibular and the sphenomandibular, isn't it? Stylomandibular ligament, as the name suggests, both the ligaments are accessory ligaments, and you will see the stylomandibular ligament, it is something else. Sphenomandibular ligament, it is something else. Stylomandibular ligament we have discussed in the previous class when we are discussing the parotid. It is nothing but the deep lamina of this parotid fossa. It was what? It was thickened in between the base of the angle of the mandible and the stellate process here, and that is known as the stylomandibular ligament. That means it is nothing but the thickened part of the deep cervical investing layer of the deep cervical fossa. Deep cervical fossa. This stylomandibular ligament. But this sphenomandibular ligament, it is not the condensation of any fossa. In the embryology class, when you have discussed about the first pharyngeal arch, mind it, Meckel's cartilage, I have discussed in the embryology classes first pharyngeal arch component. The cartilaginous component of that was what? First pharyngeal arch cartilage name is Meckel's cartilage. A very important point here, Meckel's cartilage. So what happens? This Meckel's cartilage, I have already discussed. This mandible, the development of the face, the mandible, it is the part which is formed by the ossification of this cartilage anteriorly, but the dorsal aspect, which is the unossified part, which extends from the spine of the sphenoid here, spine of the sphenoid up to the lingula. Look here. This is the mandible. You look here, there is the mandibular foramen. Okay. Just opposite the ramus or the internal surface of the ramus or the medial surface of the ramus here, there is a foramen which is known as the mandibular foramen, and a tongue shaped projection here, it is the lingula. So this ligament, it is the sphenomandibular ligament which extends from the spine of the sphenoid above to the lingula. Okay, and this sphenomandibular ligament, it is nothing but the dorsal unossified part, which is the unossified part of which cartilage? Of Meckel's cartilage. So both the ligaments developmentally are two different things. This stylomandibular ligament, it is, both the ligaments are attached to the mandible, but you will see it is the dominant, this is the condensation of the deep cervical fossa. This is stylomandibular ligament, and this sphenomandibular ligament, it is nothing but the unossified part. Now, so this was the 4 ligaments of the temporomandibular joint. Okay, this was the 4 ligaments of the temporal muscle, the lateral pterygoid blade. That means this action, that opening the depression of the lower jaw or the TM joint, it is done by which muscle? That is the lateral pterygoid. Assisted by it, this action, it is assisted by some accessory muscle. What you will say? Geniohyoid. Genial tubercle is here and the hyoid one. It will contract, it will also depress the jaw. Anterior belly of the digastric muscles, mylohyoid muscles starting from here and insertion to the hyoid bone. So these accessory muscles also helps in the depression of the temporomandibular joint or the this. But when you will discuss the muscle of mastication, this temporalis, masseter, medial pterygoid, 3 main muscles are elevated, and the only one muscle, a very important point, it is the gravitational muscle. That means it works with the gravitational force, the jaw opening. That means assisted by the gravitational force, assisted by the accessory muscles like geniohyoid, okay, then digastric muscles as well as the mylohyoid muscles. All are jaw opener of this temporal. That means jaw opening or closing what? That means these action, it is taking place at the temporomandibular joint. That's why we are discussing this nomenclature, jaw opening and closing. Now, elevation and depression. Then comes what? Then suppose when you tease anybody, you protrude, you do like that, like this. What is the action? This is known as the protraction. That means the intra-articular disc, it is moving. That means the condyle is moving anteriorly. So what happens? The forward movement, it is known as the protraction, and backward movement, it is known as the retraction. So what you will see, protraction, this forward movement, it is done by the two pterygoid muscles. That is the protraction. Protraction. That means anterior movement. How it works? Which muscle will have two pterygoid? Okay? Two pterygoid muscles, that is the lateral plus medial pterygoid. Both the pterygoid muscles will protrude the mandible or the temporomandibular joint. Why? Because look, when it is antero-posterior relation, this movement, look here. Here is the, at the same level. Here it is the lateral pterygoid, here it is the medial pterygoid. And the level of the origin, it is anteriorly. So when both the muscle will contract simultaneously, it will protrude the tongue, it will protrude the mandibular, protract the mandible anteriorly. Now, when the protruded mandible has to be retracted, the posterior movement or the retraction, then which muscle you think that it will retract the protruded mandible? Look here. We have discussed the temporalis. Temporalis has got vertical fibers and the oblique fibers. Look here. The posterior, the oblique fibers, what it will do? It is originating like that, fan shaped. So, the posterior fibers of the temporalis muscle, this is the temporal fossa, the vertical fibers, it will do the sling-like action to close the jaw, and the posterior fibers, it will sling-like action, it will pull the protruded mandible posteriorly. So retraction, it is done by the posterior. So you have to give the specific part of this temporalis, that is the posterior fibers of the temporalis muscle. Okay, the retraction of the temporomandibular joint, it is done by the what? Posterior fibers of the temporalis muscle. Like this. Like this. It is vertical fibers of the temporalis which is closing the jaw, and the posterior fibers, it is retracting the joint. Now, this type of movement, side to side movement. Suppose I am moving my chin toward the right side, like this. If I move my chin to the left side, suppose you are teasing me like that, side to side movement like this. What are the actions here? This action, it is taking place at the temporomandibular joint. You look do like it and you will see the movement taking place at the temporomandibular joint, side to side movement. Again, in this side to side movement, it is taking place at the TM joint by, and which muscle helps here? Suppose, very important, if I move my chin here, right side, my right side, in this condition, better take the upper hand to the lateral pterygoid. When the chin moves towards the right side, at this time, right side lateral pterygoid and the left side the medial pterygoid contract, and vice versa. If I move my chin to the left side, in this movement, left side lateral pterygoid and the right side the medial pterygoid muscle will contract for movement of the chin towards the left side. So it is like that, side to side movement, alternate contraction. What you will see? The alternate contraction of both the pterygoid muscle, of both the pterygoid muscles. Side 2. When lateral pterygoid of left side along with the medial pterygoid of the right side, chin will move toward the left side. Right lateral pterygoid along with the contraction of the left medial pterygoid, the chin will move towards the right side. That means when the chin moves towards the which side of that side, lateral pterygoid muscle is contracting. That point should be remembered. Okay. Now these movements of the joint, okay, due to the presence of this intra-articular, we have cartilage. It is divided into two compartments, upper and lower, supradiscal, infradiscal. So both the compartments, when you are asked which type of movement, there are gliding movement and as well as rotatory movement. Okay. First, that means the supradiscal or the meniscotemporal compartment. Here, the fibrous capsule which was attached here, it is loosely arranged here, axonal circumference. But here below it is tightly arranged. Here it is tight and here it is loose. What? The fibrous capsule, the attachment of that. Due to this arrangement, what happens? Above supradiscal compartment, it provides the gliding movement. And here it is infradiscal, it is gliding plus rotational movement. So both type of movements, gliding as well as the rotational movement, it is taking place just below this fibrocartilage plate, the oval plate which we have discussed just now. That's why it is the two compartments serve the two functions for the temporomandibular joint. One provides the gliding movement for that and the another provides the gliding as well as the rotatory movement for that. Due to the attachment of this fibrous capsule like that here. Now, whenever you will hit any joint, then what would be the blood supply, what would be the nerve supply, what would be the lymphatic drainage, the nearby arteries must be supplying this joint, TM joint. In the parotid gland, we have discussed the external carotid artery entering here from the posterior medial surface, external carotid artery, and in the parotid gland it is divided into the maxillary artery and the superficial temporal artery, isn't it? So these two arteries, the superficial temporal plus the masseteric artery, it will supply the TM joint. Again, nerve. Which nerve? It is supplying this joint, a very important portions arising from the TM for the TM joint. Which nerve it is going to articular twig going to supply this joint? One nerve supplies the temporomandibular joint from the anterior aspect and the another it is supplying from the posterior aspect. AP, just like me, I am AP here, assistant professor in the department of anatomy, AP. So, anteriorly or the posteriorly. Anteriorly, what is that? Which nerve? Masseteric nerve. Anteriorly, that is the masseteric nerve. And posteriorly, what is that? Auriculotemporal nerve. Auriculotemporal. This is also asked which nerve. That's why relation of the TM joint was very important. Look here. The anterior relation. Anteriorly, the joint is supplied from the anterior side by this masseteric nerve because a masseteric nerve it is lying anterior to this joint to supply the masseter here. Coming from this fossa, like this mandibular fossa, and it is going here to supply. That's why it is an anterior relation. That's why masseteric nerve supplies the joint from the anterior side, and this auriculotemporal nerve, it is supplying from the posterior side. Okay. Now the lymphatic drainage, just like the parotid, superficial group of the parotid lymph nodes and the deep lymph nodes drains into the upper lymph nodes, these joint is draining. So this was the temporomandibular joint, very important. Now you heard the name of lockjaw. Lockjaw, that can't open the jaw in the tetanus. The patient is unable to open the jaw. And then comes a very important aspect, that is the dislocation of the, whatever we have studied about the capsule and the ligaments here, it will give the hint why the dislocation is mainly anterior in nature of the temporomandibular joint. Look, anteriorly there is no support, so very vulnerable part to be dislocation of the temporomandibular, or you can say for the dislocation. What is this? This is the head of this mandible and this is the articular eminence. Posteriorly, what is there? This is the tympanic plate. Whenever there will be dislocation, this tympanic plate will come and it will support. So posterior dislocation is not common. Medially, there is the styloid process. It is not possible. Medially, there is the styloid process which is preventing it from the medial decushion. Again, there is the bony point. Above, it is not possible because this is the squamous part of the temporal is there. So anteriorly, there is only the part where it is easily dislocated, because whenever yawning, overstretching of this mandible, opening of the jaw, what happens? Sometimes this head of the mandible, once it will comes out this articular eminence, it will come forward here, then you will say that there is the dislocation of the temporomandibular joint. When it comes anterior to this articular eminence, then it is impossible to let the condyle keep in the position of the mandibular fossa, because whenever you will push back to place it, what happen? There will be fracture here. When there any attempt to prevent it from the dislocation anteriorly will be pushed posteriorly, there will be the tearing of the, or you can say there is the fracture of the condyle. Then what will you have to do? First you have to, what you have to do? You have to decrease the level of this condyle, and then you have to push backward so that you will keep this condyle in the articular fossa here. First you have to depress the part and then you elevate it so that it comes in the alignment. So this was the dislocation of the temporomandibular joint. Mainly it is in anterior. A very important topic for you all for the long questions. Okay, in the next class the same one thing you keep in mind, if you have read the temporomandibular joint, then two long questions you are completing. One is TM joint itself along with the intra-articular disc. Sometimes short questions are asked on the intra-articular disc as a whole. And the another main topic for the long question is, that is the muscle of mastication. Again the same thing with a special emphasis from where it is originating, where it is inserted, the same story. So muscle of mastication. So in the next class we will discuss either the muscle of mastication or I will discuss the mandibular nerve, the forces of the mandibular nerve